Hey guys, so today I wanted to talk about some products that I'm glad I did not buy in 2021. These are some things that kind of caught my eye when they initially launched, or they're just things that at one point this year I was tempted to purchase, and I'm glad I skipped over them. And honestly, making this list, I kind of had the realization that I've never regretted not buying something. I think the only thing I've maybe regretted not buying was the ABH Sultry palette since it was limited edition, but it came back for like a limited time last year in the Sultry vault that they did, and I snagged it then for like a really good deal. So I was eventually able to buy that, but that was the only product that I at one point regretted not buying because it was no longer available. But most of the products on this list aren't limited edition anyway, so if in the future I do decide I really want to get them, I have that option, but I am glad I passed on these. So the first one, I was kind of looking back at videos I did, earlier this year, talking about new makeup releases and things like that, and there was one product, this whole collection, for some reason caught my eye when it was first announced, and I have not thought about it ever since, and it's the e.l.f. Chipotle collection. Can you guys even believe that that launched earlier this year? I keep saying I feel like this year has flown by, but honestly that seems like a lifetime ago that the e.l.f. Chipotle collection came out. But the palette did look really cute. I think it sold out pretty quickly, so I kind of had my chance to buy it, didn't take the chance to buy it, and then I don't think it ever came back. So I am truly glad I didn't buy it. It also had a couple other products in the collection, like I think there were some like lip glosses, and a cute little avocado sponge duo. Thinking about it now, I know a lot of people bought it when it came out and a lot of people reviewed it when they got it in PR, for example, but I don't think I've seen anyone using that palette on YouTube or on social media at all since, maybe within like the month that it launched, which tells me that, maybe it wasn't really that great of a palette. I don't know. Did any of you guys pick it up and are you still loving it? Maybe it, I'm sure the palette itself was a nice palette. It did look like a really cute color story, but yeah, I'm glad. I mean, I don't even really like Chipotle anyway, so there was really no reason for me to buy it, but I did feel tempted there for a second. I think the main thing that like lured me in was the avocado sponge because there was just something so cutesy about that, but very glad I skipped that collection. Another product from e.l.f. that didn't launch this year, it launched last year, but I kind of had it like on my mental wish list for a long time. Every time I saw it in the store, I thought about picking it up. But the e.l.f. Bite Size Quad in Cream and Sugar, I'm glad I didn't buy it because I have the quad in Rose Water and I loved it for so long. But now that I've had it for like about a year and a half, the formula is just not the same. Like, it is not performing as well as it did when I first got it. One problem I had with it was that it was very fragile. I had to repress one of the shades twice, another one of the shades once. But even the two shades that I haven't had to repress, I feel like they are not showing up on my eyes anymore. All the shades I feel like I have to really build to get them to show up, and even then they look very sheer. It reminds me of like a CoverGirl eyeshadow palette that I had years ago, I guess the shelf life of those quads just isn't that great, or at least the Rose Water one that I have. Maybe the other shades don't have that problem, but I don't really care to find out. They're only $3, which I feel like makes it very tempting and very easy to just pick up at the store and not even think about it. Like, there have been so many times where I've been browsing the makeup section at Walmart or Target or like any store that carries e.l.f. I have had it in like my basket multiple times and put it back. Like, I've talked myself out of it multiple times, and I'm really glad that I have because, number one, the shades in the Cream and Sugar quad don't look that unique to me. I'm sure I have all those shades in other palettes in my collection over and over again. And number two, even though it's $3, it's still a product that I'm bringing into my collection that is eventually going to end up in a landfill, or, I can maybe recycle it, but even then it's like, is it really getting recycled, So it's just, this year I've really been trying to be better about not impulse buying inexpensive products, because even though they're inexpensive, number one, those costs do add up over time, and two, I would rather have like one nice like drugstore or high-end product than a bunch of really inexpensive drugstore products that I bought on a whim that I don't really care about that much, So I'm glad I didn't buy the Cream and Sugar quad, long story short, and also proud of myself for not giving in to the very low price tag. So another thing that I think I mentioned in another kind of like, will I buy it type video earlier this year, I think it was in the same video as the e.l.f. Chipotle collection, was the Colourpop Cheek Dews. And those looked really intriguing to me. I mean, I am a sucker for a cream or liquid blush, any kind of blush. I I love blush. I love trying different formulas, especially liquid and cream formulas, but it seemed like that blush got kind of mixed reviews, and honestly, I feel like I haven't heard anyone talking about that in a while either. So, but from the reviews I heard, I remember hearing people talk about how the packaging was kind of difficult to work with. Maybe the product was a little bit too liquidy, it didn't have good staying power, so I have plenty of blushes, liquid, cream, powder blushes in my collection, and I have plenty of lipsticks in my collection that I can wear as cream blushes, so I'm really glad I didn't buy it. Maybe in the future, if I really want to try that formula, I can, because, you know, it hasn't been discontinued yet, but I really haven't thought about it since it launched. Okay, another couple of products from a brand that I do want to try more from, and I might even want to try these products in the future, but they're both from the brand LYS, which is a brand that I think that brand launched earlier this year. And the two products that I'm glad I didn't buy from LYS are the bronzer and the serum foundation. I've heard so many wonderful things about these products, and I'm sure they're great, but we'll talk about the foundation first. So for starters, right now, I feel like I have a foundation for every mood I could be in. I think I have like 6 or 7 foundations in my collection right now. I will have an updated makeup inventory coming up soon, but either way, I have plenty of foundations. And lately, I don't know if this is just a seasonal thing, but I've been more into medium to higher coverage base products. That's just what I've been into these days. I've been loving the Colourpop Pretty Fresh foundation, which has really good medium to, I would even argue, like close to full coverage if you build it up. That's the kind of look I've been most into lately, and I have 3 or 4 like lighter coverage foundations to reach for, so I truly just do not need another like serum-y, lightweight, low coverage foundation, because I'd rather just use the ones I have first. So that may be something that I purchase in the future. I also just haven't been that into very dewy foundations these days either, which I never thought I would say. That's always been, or at least for the past like 3 or 4 years, that's been my style. But lately I've been more into almost like a soft matte or satin-like, skin-like finish as opposed to dewy finish. So I'm glad I held off on buying that, even though I did consider picking it up in the Sephora sale, but I'm glad I didn't. And then the LYS bronzer also, honestly, the tone, I would get the lightest shade, but the lightest shade still does look a little bit deep for me. I do prefer a really, really light bronzer, maybe just like a couple shades deeper than what I would use for a face powder, you know? And that shade also looks like it might pull a little bit orange, and one of you guys did tell me that it does pull orange. I think it all really depends on your undertone, so maybe it would work well for me, but for now, I'm just enjoying the bronzers that I have. I've got several bronzers I enjoy, and I actually ended up just purchasing the Charlotte Tilbury bronzer in Fair, which looks like the perfect tone for me. I'm really excited to get it. I used the Sephora 20% off coupon that they've got going on right now. I'm excited to get that. That has been on my wish list for a really long time, and if I'm being honest with myself, I did want that one more than the LYS one, even though it's more expensive. So those two LYS products, I just feel like if I'd bought them this year, I probably wouldn't be giving them the love that they deserve. So maybe in the future, I will have a place for them in my collection, but for right now, I'm glad that I held off on them. And then the final product that I'm glad I didn't buy this year was the Aether Beauty Moonlight palette. Do you guys remember when I was obsessing over this palette for a couple days there? I think it was when the promo photos were launched on Instagram. I was posting on my Instagram stories like, oh my gosh, you guys, I think I need this palette. Like, I think I need it. But I am very glad I held off because I was able to talk myself out of it. I did a video around that time where I was kind of trying to decide if I wanted to buy some palettes that were on my wish list. And the 3 palettes I was thinking about were the Aether palette, and then the BH Cosmetics Lost in LA palette, and the BH Cosmetics Mimosa palette. I did end up buying both BH palettes, but I ended up talking myself out of the Aether palette because I was able to pretty much dupe the vibes of that palette with my collection. With my e.l.f. Earth and Ocean palette, I already had a lot of those blues and green type shades, and then I already have a lot of purples in my collection between like my Colourpop In a Trance palette and various other palettes. And I also had to remind myself that I don't even really wear purple eyeshadow that much. It's just not my favorite color to wear on my eyes. And that palette, that Aether palette, is like half purple. So I'm really glad I took the time to talk myself out of that palette, even though when I first saw the photos of it, I got like the butterflies, you know that feeling you get when you see a new product release and you're like, I need that. And sometimes as soon as I see a new product, I'm like, that has my name written all over it, and I'm right. Like, it does look like a product that I would love, but then sometimes it's my mind playing tricks on me, making me think that I need a new thing when I really don't. And so I think it's important to ask yourself, like, okay, am I falling into the, like, ooh, this is a shiny new product trap and I need it? Or does this truly look like something that has my name written all over it, you know? So in the Aether Moonlight palette case, it did not. Although I'm sure it's a beautiful palette. I do love their formula, but I didn't need that palette. And I bought a lot of palettes this year, probably too many. So I'm glad that was not one of them. But those are the products that I'm glad I didn't buy this year. And hopefully it just serves as a good reminder that it's pretty rare that you regret not buying something, unless it's like limited edition. But even then, most limited edition things are super popular for like a week, and then nobody on YouTube talks about them again. So it's just a good thing to remember when you are browsing, you know, new launches. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video and that you're enjoying Vlogmas. If you missed it, I've been posting every single day in December. I'm planning on going all the way to the 31st of December, so you're going to get to see lots of me this month. I do have my Vlogmas playlist linked down below if you want to catch up on previous videos from the month so far. But otherwise, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you tomorrow in my next video. Bye!